think we are good. Jesus. Just gonna post a stream really quick. Then we'll get started talking about this. I don't know why it's so weird. Janet's got me looking down. That's crazy. I'm getting exposed. Alright, I think I'm good now. Alright, I think I'm good. So, a lot of moves still happen between last night and today. Put that over here. Full screen it so we can see all these beautiful ads that they have. But yeah, obviously still Kirk Cousins, one of the bigger moves. Some other stuff happened last night. Brian Burns got shipped to the Giants. Joe Mixon traded instead of cut. So yeah, let's go down it. I guess we can go more extensive today. Gonna be the last one for a few days, so we'll go more extensive. Christian Wilkins to the Vegas Raiders. That one's a good move for Vegas's defense. I think the way they want to build their roster right now is, win games by their defense, have their offense. Have some games where they're gonna bail out their defense, but I think they're gonna go defensive, minded, well-being. Their defense looked good, especially at the end of the year. Robert Hunt to Carolina. It's good for Bryce Young. He got two guards actually, Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. Obviously, Bryce Young, one of the most sacked quarterbacks last season. It was really bad. Couldn't get a run game going. Couldn't do much. So hard to evaluate when you don't have a quarterback set up. So Carolina does a good job there, securing some offensive linemen. Xavier McKinney to Green Bay, boost their defense. That's a good move. Leonard Williams re-signs with Seattle. Kind of figured that was going to happen. Patriots bring back their guard. Good piece to have, too. So that one's a good one there. Bryce Huff, Philly, needs to rebuild their defense. So, a couple names Philly's been going after. Jonah Jackson, the Rams mentioned yesterday. I think that's a good move. Helps that offensive line there. Titans get a new center, which is good. Starting to build that offensive line back. Josh Jacobs, he mentioned yesterday. We were talking to Green Bay. I think that's a good move overall. It's a younger Aaron Jones. Obviously, it sucks that Aaron Jones is gone. I always thought that Aaron Jones made that offense better, no matter who the quarterback was. If it was Rodgers or if it was Jordan Love. I think Jones made that offense that much more better, a little more versatile. So it sucks that he's gone. I think Josh Jacobs is a good replacement, a bit younger, so you get that with it. Still decently paid as well. Big move today defensively is Patrick Queen to the Steelers. Big addition to the Steelers defense. I think that's something they've kind of missed, was that middle linebacker captain-ish role. Helps the defensive coordinator quite a bit. That's going to be good for Pittsburgh, bad for fantasy teams against Pittsburgh. And then fantasy-wise, dynasty-wise, right, Darnell Mooney. I mentioned it yesterday. Atlanta needed to bring in another pass catcher. Probably still another one at that, but I think I'd be satisfied enough, right? I think if you want to put it in the best situation, yeah, bring someone else in as well. But I think getting Darnell Mooney is great. He's still 26 years old, $13 million a year, Fair contract for someone like Darnell Mooney. Could be what some would consider an overpay, and I'd be okay with that the way he's played. But I still think Darnell Mooney was just underutilized, clearly underutilized in Chicago. We saw the upside, 1,000-yard season out of Darnell Mooney. So I think Darnell Mooney to Atlanta is a good situation for both teams. Gets Kirk another weapon to throw to. I think that's just overall a good move there. Colts resign Gabe Davis, mentioned yesterday to Jacksonville. I think it's a good move. I'm not hearing that Jacksonville is still trying to bring back Calvin Ridley. So if that's the case, Gabe Davis yesterday, his value, in my opinion, went up going to Jacksonville without Calvin Ridley. I think if Calvin Ridley returns, I think it remains the same. I don't think it really goes up because you still have Christian Kirk. You still have Evan Ingram. You still have Travis Etienne. And if they bring back Calvin Ridley, then there's a good amount of weapons. I think Gabe Davis is going to be a good best ball player. But as far as setting your lineup and putting in a starting lineup every week, that's going to be a tough one there. Saquon to Philly, obviously one of the bigger moves yesterday. I mentioned it yesterday, talked about it. Great fit. Hopefully works out for these 3 years, and then Philly can move on if they want to. But I think the Saquon for 3 years is good. If you're holding on to Saquon, I found out yesterday, right, that Penny's a free agent, Boston Scott's a free agent. So I do believe the only running backs they have is Saquon and Gainwell, I believe, is what they're at right now. Titans bring in a corner. I like that move. Houston brings in a linebacker, kind of replace Cashman. Expected that. Washington, Dan Quinn brings one of his Dallas players with him. I think that's a good move. Justin Jones goes to Arizona. I actually missed that one. Interesting there. Washington, bringing in some talent, right? They need to set their rookie quarterback up somewhat, either having a really good defense to not make him feel pressured, or have offensive pieces around him. So I think overall they're building a decent roster to compete next year. Mentioned a lot of these guys. The Giants, I believe, got 2, maybe just 1 offensive lineman. Runyon goes to the Giants, kind of boost that offensive line. That's a good one. Miami replacing the linebackers. It's weird. Sean Bunting to Arizona. Good corner there. Blake Cashman mentioned. He goes to Minnesota. Minnesota kind of defensive changes there. Gardner Minshew to Vegas. Vegas is going to be interesting. Vegas is going to be an interesting team to see what the quarterback looks like. They're going to release Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just going to happen. There's no way they're going to carry that contract. Just get rid of the contract and eat the dead cap. But right now it's Gardner Minshew and AOC. I wonder what else they're going to do. In my opinion, still a lot of holes on that team. I think the tight end is good with Michael Mayer. I think you're going to need to bring in another running back. Zamir White is good, right? But they're still going to need to bring somebody else in. I'm not saying somebody to start over Zamir White, but somebody there. Wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. I think Hunter Renfro's gone, if I'm not mistaken. If he's there, right, then you have your 3 receivers in that aspect. But defensively, adding Wilkins helps. That secondary was kind of up and down throughout the year, but I think Vegas could be a solid team fantasy-wise. Not so good. They're more of a best ball roster, in my opinion, not really putting guys in your starting lineup. Tony Pollard, we mentioned to the Titans. I was really excited for Tyjae Spears. Not anymore. I think Tyjae Spears is still a good backup running back to have on your rosters next year. He's going to be a guy to where Tony Pollard was really bad in the red zone. Really bad with Dallas. And this is coming from a team that had Ezekiel Elliott and was probably the best goal line back in football, was able to score, and then had Tony Pollard, and they struggled getting the run game in there. So I think Tony Pollard could be good for the Titans offense, but Tyjae Spears, I still think is that guy. DeAndre Swift, I mentioned yesterday as well to the Bears. That one, I as a Bears fan, I didn't really love. I didn't think it was needed. He's there. It's happening. We're stuck with him for at least 2 years, right? So, yeah, that one's tough. I still like Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. DeAndre Swift, I'm more just trying to get rid of him if I have any exposure to him. We look what else we got. Darius Williams to the Rams. A'Shawn Robinson, I believe, just signed with the Panthers. Like I said, they're trying to rebuild their team. Brian Burns shipped, so that gave some draft capital. Definitely not what they should have gotten a couple years ago and should have taken that deal. Some draft capital, some cap space. Colby Parkinson, mentioned to the Rams, if you want to take a shot on Colby Parkinson, go for it. Unproven tight end. Gets a contract, though, right? So, I mean, he's going to get paid. I just didn't really see that. Darnell Savage to Jacksonville. That was a good add there. Bilal Nichols, obviously, leads Vegas' defensive line. I like Bilal Nichols since he was in Chicago. Sucked to see him leave, but he is now in Arizona. Aaron Brewer goes to Miami. Yeah, lost a couple off. Miami lost quite a bit, one way or another. So, yeah, that's there. Noah Fant did re-sign with Seattle. Seattle's tight end room just got paid for somehow, right? So Parkinson goes to the Rams, getting $7.5 million. Noah Fant getting $10.5 million, and then Will Dissly got paid $4.6 million. And this is coming from a tight end room that didn't do a lot last year. So that was interesting. Texans bring in Autry from the Titans. Leonard Floyd goes from Buffalo to San Fran, staying on contending teams. Andrew Van Ginkel goes to Minnesota. That's a good move for them. Brandon Jones goes to Denver, kind of replace Simmons. Nixon re-signs with Green Bay. Matos to San Fran. That's a good move for San Fran. Their defensive line is going to look a lot different next year, so I think that's a good move. Mentioned Devin Singletary to the Giants. I just don't see that move, right? I didn't agree with it, but he's there. I think the Giants running back room is open for grabs, in my opinion, with Devin Singletary there. I would expect Giants to probably take a running back in the draft. I don't think anyone really behind Singletary has proven themselves talent-wise. So, and then today, Derrick Henry to Baltimore. This is a big one. I think Derrick Henry in these 2 years is going to be good for Baltimore. Remember what that running back or that team looked like when the running back room consisted of J.K. Dobbins and Derrick Henry. J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. Keaton Mitchell is going to be more their explosive back. Obviously had a major injury last year, so you got to take that into consideration. But Derrick Henry going to fit the Gus Edwards role and then some, right? Going to have a really good offensive line, going to have a good mobile quarterback to help him out. I would expect Derrick Henry to be a big touchdown running back. If you're going for pass catching and yardage, probably not going to be there, right? I don't think he's going to return to that Derrick Henry. Could have a game or two where he gets those yardage, but I think you're going to rely on Derrick Henry being a big touchdown back this season. Washington, like I said, Washington's making moves, right? Trying to set up. They're going to get a rookie quarterback. We'll talk about the quarterback they did get, but trying to set up the rookie quarterback as best they can. Titans add Kenneth Murray. I like that move. Kevin Byard, one of the first moves, so we don't have to go over that to the Bears. I think that's good for the secondary. Will Dissly mentioned to the Chargers, kind of seeming like Brock Bowers not going to be there. If Brock Bowers does go to the Chargers for whatever reason, I don't see it now. With Will Dissly, I think they're going to go alt more than likely or a wide receiver than Brock Bowers. It seems like they're going to try to be a run-heavy team to start off. Which is weird having Justin Herbert on that team. The Giants, there we go, added a tackle. So they added a tackle and a guard. I think that Giants offensive line is going to be pretty solid if they could stay healthy. I know that was an issue last season. So Daniel Jones slash Drew Lock, who we'll talk about soon, is going to be set up in that aspect. Some Baltimore defensive moves. Geno Stone goes to Cincy. Kind of good to replace that secondary. Mack Wilson to Arizona. Arizona adding defensive pieces with a defensive coach. Makes sense. Gerald Everett, here's a move to the Bears. This one I like, right? I think Cole Kmet has been great for the Bears. If you have him in fantasy like I have, I'm heavily invested in Cole Kmet. I like Gerald Everett going to the Bears. This adds insurance to Cole Kmet in the aspect of I think Cole Kmet's still going to be a good tight end, right? His blocking is probably his downside. Gerald Everett's a good pass-catching tight end. We saw when Cole Kmet was out of the game, or they ran 2 tight end sets, the other tight ends have not been able to fill in nicely, like when the Bears had Jimmy Graham, and that was different, right? Jimmy Graham got the touchdowns, Cole Kmet kind of got the yards, but it helped Cole Kmet out, right? And Bears have been running 2 tight end sets, obviously new offensive coordinator, still would imagine we get some 2 tight end sets there. So Gerald Everett on a 2-year, $6 million. I think that's a fair deal till you now have your tight end room locked up, at least for the next 2 years, if Everett works out of having Everett and Kmet. So I like that move there. I still think from a dynasty perspective, if we're talking about Gerald Everett, right, I don't think the values is there at all really anymore. He's more of a best ball, right? Like if you're playing best ball, these are guys that you want. Cole Kmet goes down. Gerald Everett is dirt cheap. You're not paying anything for him, especially in best ball where you get some extra rounds to buy players. You know, sending 6th round, 5th round, 7th, whatever it is. Sending those late draft picks for tight end. Gerald Everett's a good addition there. Not looking at anything spectacular, but if Cole Kmet were to go down, Gerald Everett's in a really good spot there. Indy, Buffalo re-signing some of those guys. Charlie Warner signs with Atlanta, right? I think I've come to like that more than not like that. I think it allows Kyle Pitts to kind of play the slot more. And if that's the case, Charlie Warner getting some snaps at tight end, and Kyle Pitts taking some snaps, which is going to be weird, in the slot. Yeah, it's difficult to really say, but I think overall it's good for Kyle Pitts more than bad. So that one's there. Antonio Gibson to the Patriots on that deal. I'm going to be interested to see what the Patriots running back room looks like going into the next season before I make any judgment calls on them right now. Zeke's a free agent, so it's Antonio Gibson and Stevenson. So I would say Antonio Gibson was the best pass catcher for Washington last season. I think he definitely redeemed himself for the fumbling situation he had a couple years ago. Obviously, Brian Robinson was the better ground back, but Antonio Gibson, good pass catcher, so that's a good move there. Mentioned Jacksonville added Mitch Morse yesterday. Thought that was a great move for them. Kind of helps their offensive line, which I think their offensive line hasn't been bad, so there's that. Chargers, Minnesota, re-sign. Meek Robertson goes to Detroit, adds some cornerback help there, which is desperately needed. Devin Duvernay mentioned right before the stream went off yesterday, goes to Jacksonville. Ronald Darby goes to Jacksonville. Jonas Smith mentioned earlier goes to Miami. Austin Eckler to Washington. This one's interesting because I thought maybe they were going to go with Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, and, yet again, draft another running back. But they go Austin Eckler, who replaces Antonio Gibson. And I think for the pass-catching aspect is better. And that's what you want in a running back for a rookie, right? I think we're pretty much in agreement. Washington's going to go rookie quarterback. Now, with who they added and Marcus Mariota, you have Sam Howell there. You're going to have a rookie quarterback. That quarterback room is interesting having, Marcus Mariota and Sam Howell battling for QB2, right? That's usually not a battle. It's one of the others going to get quarterback 2, and then the other one, a young quarterback for, your emergency quarterback, basically. But Austin Ekeler to Washington, I think, is going to add some upgrade in pass catching, definitely, for Kingsbury's offense with Drake May, Jaden Daniels, whoever, or Caleb Williams, right? They trade up for Caleb Williams. I don't know if they will or not, but it adds a good pass-catching running back, which is important. Jacoby Brissett goes to New England. That one's interesting as well. Nothing but, Patriots aren't sure what they're going to do at quarterback. Bailey Zappi, right? Like, kind of thought maybe there was a shot, and then it just went away. Bringing Jacoby Brissett back to New England, he gets what they're trying to accomplish from a locker room perspective. He's going to add some help to your rookie quarterback, right? You could put Jacoby Brissett as your starting quarterback, right? I think this thing of having a rookie quarterback and putting him in there is just so automatic now compared to where, like, Jordan Love had a good first year at quarterback, not rookie year, obviously, but first year at quarterback, sat behind Aaron Rodgers. No one knew if he was going to be good or not. Showed some flashes of playing really good. Had some other games, right? I wouldn't say all the way bad, but not good games. But having a rookie quarterback sit behind someone like Jacoby Brissett, or Jacoby Brissett being there as a mentor quarterback, is perfect. It keeps your team competitive, too, at that aspect of having a quarterback who's had success in the NFL. Not great success, obviously. He's a free agent going from team to team every year. But you know that he's capable of throwing the ball and being a mentor. So that's a good add there. Zach Moss, yet again, an interesting situation. Joe Mixon out, Cincinnati. Zach Moss in for the running back. So with Zach Moss, Chase Brown currently. Aaron Jones goes to Minnesota, goes to a division rival. That one is a good move. I can't wait to see Aaron Jones play Green Bay. I can't wait. I think with whoever their quarterback is going to be, having Aaron Jones there is good. That offensive line was solid enough last year for them. So I think getting a running back like Aaron Jones is going to be good. I would still expect they get some type of running back. I don't know if they go with Chandler and McBride to support Aaron Jones. If that's the case, then Aaron Jones is in a really good spot. And Chandler and McBride are in good spots in a dynasty aspect as good running back backups. Keep going down. Detroit adds Marcus Davenport. New England. I haven't seen that linebacker enough to really comment on it. Gus Edwards goes to the Chargers. Still think Chargers bring in somebody else. Josh Kelly gone. So it's Isaiah Spiller, Gus Edwards. Still expect somebody else to be added as a more explosive back. He's going to be definitely their powerhouse back, though. But Marcus Mariota to Washington. This one was interesting to me that Washington got Marcus Mariota for a 1-6 just because they had Sam Howell. Sam Howell pushed the ball, right? I think the potentials were there. If you had him in fantasy, he had some really good weeks for you in fantasy. So I think they're more looking for a veteran type quarterback to help their rookie. So he's there. Already mentioned Trubisky to Buffalo yesterday. Drew Lock today. Goes to the Giants. I think this is a good move for the Giants. DeVito, I won them some games last year. Fluky games, in my opinion. I think the defense stepped up. The offense was just... No one knew what the Giants' offense was going to do, and that's what made them succeed, I guess. But Drew Lock, I've liked coming out of college. I thought in Denver just wasn't set up for him. Goes to Seattle. Plays his one good game in Seattle. I think he's a good backup for Daniel Jones. Going to make that quarterback competition, obviously with what they're paying Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback. But I think if Daniel Jones does not be efficient, Drew Lock has a really good shot of taking over some of those games next season. Still, nothing to be buy heavy. I think he's a good backup quarterback to have on your dynasty rosters. For a team with the Giants who you lose Saquon, you still have Wan'Dale. Your wide receiver room is going to be interesting to see what it looks like. Darren Waller's undecided if he wants to retire or not, so it's not saying it's a good investment from a fantasy perspective. But if you want a backup quarterback who has a good shot at starting some games next season, it's probably Drew Lock. Okudah goes to Houston. I mentioned that was a good move. Tommy Townsend, I did not see also went to Houston. That's a good move there as well. I like that. Michael Ford goes to Houston, so Houston adding that secondary that I mentioned. Okudah, Ford, two good corners to go there. And then a move, Devontae Parker at 31, right, been an injury-esque receiver. If he wasn't as injured, I think he'd be a better known name, better paid, have better contract, better production. But I think this is probably the best variation of their third wide receiver they've tried to do since having Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. 1 year deal, right? He's not going to get paid at his age anymore. But I think Devontae Parker, yet again, a good best ball buy, in my opinion. You're not paying anything for him, right? I would guess he's a free agent in some leagues. You could probably get him for fourth at that. He's going to be a guy that if, for some reason A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith are out, he becomes that wide receiver 2. Even then, still the wide receiver 3, he's a speed guy as well. So I think he fits in that system really well with a good passing coordinator there. Noah Brown re-signs in Houston. I think that's good. Brings some familiarity with the offense. Can't believe I got the word out. With that offense, right, Nico Collins going to be back. Tank Dell, obviously, if he's healthy, going to be back on a rookie contract. Dalton Schultz back. And then we get an upgrade soon that we'll talk about at the running back. New England adds a tackle. Buffalo resigns corner. Farrell goes to Washington. That one could be good. Clinton Farrell has been a disappointment since coming out of college. Seemed like the next big edge rusher coming out of Clemson. So Uche resigns in New England. Pretty good contract. Rieger resigns in New England. Shaq Barrett to Miami. Tyrod Taylor backs up Aaron Rodgers in New York. Sam Darnold, this broke last night, signs to Minnesota on a $10 million contract, just a 1 year. I think this adds a good backup or a good guy that you could have start games for whoever your quarterback's going to be, whether it's Justin Fields, and then that's kind of weird. You have Sam Darnold. I think it's more of an insurance thing for Sam Darnold, but $10 million is interesting, right? If they get J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, Penix, whoever Minnesota gets, if it's Fields, you don't really have to change much. If it's a rookie quarterback, then yeah, Sam Darnold's probably starting. But that one, I think, is a good insurance move by Minnesota. Mike Gesicki surprisingly goes to the Bengals. I could still see them... still see them going after Brock Bowers in the draft. It's kind of where it falls to, but I think, yet again, Mike Gesicki is just a good insurance if that doesn't happen. It's not a good tight end class right now, so Mike Gesicki goes to Cincy. Cincy, by the way, has not supported tight ends well at all. Just at all. So, be mindful of that. Obviously, the Tyler Boyd not being there, T. Higgins possibly being traded could change some things, but they haven't done much. Nyheim Hines goes to Cleveland. That really does nothing for me. Jameis Winston goes to Cleveland to be Deshaun Watson's backup, 30 years old. Good backup quarterback to have there. Irv Smith goes to Kansas City to be Travis Kelce's backup. I think they're still going to have either Noah Gray or Blake Bell. One of them, I believe, is still there. I think the other one, if not both, are free agents. So I think it's a good backup move for Kelce. Dearness Johnson goes back to Jacksonville. Philly signs a potential center. And Hennessy, I think it's going to be between, I can't remember, Philly's rookie center and Hennessy, I would imagine, is kind of that deal. DG Dallas goes to Arizona, so one less running back in Seattle for Charbonnet and Walker. Chase Edmonds back to Tampa Bay. Does nothing to Rashard White, though. Jets had John Simpson, who I don't even think played. Gunner resigned, so I think that is it for some of the big moves so far. Haven't really seen anything else, so I think that's where we're at for day 2. So, yet again, Joe Mixon, I forgot, is traded, not signed. So, Joe Mixon to Houston, I think, is an upgrade, in my opinion, off of Devin Singletary. Getting him for a 7th round pick, I think they're paying more for him, if I had to guess, than what they're going to pay Singletary. I think Singletary fit in well for Dameon Pierce, who just had a terrible second year. But Mixon kind of gives an upgrade to that offense, who's basically just returning, right? That's what that offense is a returning offense. Everything, offensive coordinator, quarterback, a new running back in Joe Mixon, wide receivers as of right now returning, right? Nico, Noah Brown, Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie. Offensive line, I think I don't think I've seen anybody from Houston's offensive line move. Yeah, it's the same. So I would expect Houston's offense to be another good offense next year. Usually there's some type of change somewhere, but getting Joe Mixon, I think, is an upgrade off of Devin Singletary. So, yeah, let me know in the comments who you guys still are shocked signed where, what teams you want some of these free agents to go to. Right, there's still a good amount of free agents out there, more defensive than offensive at this point. Right, we go to the tight ends and look at the tight end class. It's not good of who's available, right? So you're not getting anywhere with tight ends. It's a weaker tight end class, which is why I think Gesicki and Irv Smith kind of get their contracts as well. Quarterbacks, Tannehill's there. Flacco's there. Josh Dobbs is there. Carson Wentz is there. Mason Rudolph's there, so there's still names in the quarterback. Running back, still some names in the running back of guys that could make running back rooms weird. I don't think Cordell Patterson has that effect. I think Alexander Mattison can make a running back room weird. Ezekiel Elliott, same thing. Edwards-Helaire, I'm not worried about. Deontay Foreman could. I think he's signed as a running back 3 wherever he goes. Boston Scott, no. Damian Harris, no. Cam Akers could if he's healthy. J.K. Dobbins could if he's healthy. But yeah, you get people like Kareem Hunt, A.J. Dillon. Yeah, like those guys, they're not making an impact. They're not guys that are going to be taking snaps, but like I said, it makes it weird. Makes it feel not as safe for wherever they sign. And then wide receiver is where there's still a lot of opportunity of some of these guys to go to. Allen Robinson, who's been on a downward spiral. Three teams in the last, 4 years, I think. 3 years. Just been on a downward spiral. Odell Beckham is going to be signed somewhere, right? He's still a good best ball name to get. Curtis Samuel on the right team could be a good wide receiver to go after. I think Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, one of these wide receivers, depending on what happens with Marquise Brown and Calvin Ridley and potentially T. Higgins, I think these guys dictate what happens. But you could see Curtis Samuel or Tyler Boyd end up on a really, really good team and be in a really good spot. So those guys could be some good dynasty assets. MBS, Cedric Wilson, DJ Chark, Agnew, all these guys really aren't anything. Mecole Hardman still 26, so the age is there, had some upside. Other than that, like Laviska Shenault, same thing. Maybe another new start. Been on two really unfortunate circumstance teams, Jacksonville and then Carolina back to back. Other than that, I mean, it's a lot of non-proven wide receivers, but you're looking at Calvin Ridley and Marquise Brown to make some of these other moves happen, where you get Odell, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, I would say Devontae Parker, but he just signed Mecole Hardman. Some of these names to be on the move. So hope you guys did enjoy this one, and we will see you next week. Gonna have some potentially my own roster reviews just to go over with you guys, some dynasty buys, sells, values. We're going to go over something next week, so stay tuned for that. I will see you guys in the next one.